Greetings, Keishlings. Keishan Prime here with a Mashle Magic and Muscles theory. I'm calling it magical inverse. Um, what if I were to tell you that MASH may very well have magic? We just haven't come to realize it because society hasn't researched this particular concept, nor has it realized it itself. Um, this is a theory that's kind of been bubbling in the back of my head for the last 2 weeks since I started reading the series. Some of it started forming in the very first live reaction I did of Chapter 1, and then with some revelations of Chapter 20, more of it is starting to come together for me, so I thought I'd do this video. Also, I may do a bonus theory in this video as well. But a line from a passage from the first chapter by Brad Coleman. He says, "Since the dawn of recorded history, magic has kept our world flourishing. Do you know why? It is because we expel the lowest of the low, those who cannot use magic," from the gene pool. So I took that as they exile or they imprison said individuals. We see this also to a different extent with Lance's little sister after she started losing her magic, and then they just, totally wanted to get rid of her and everything. So, what if there's actually a gene, like a magic gene, that over time has mutated, and that's why some individuals have magic and others don't have magic, or lower levels of magic, because we do see like quite the gradient of like high level magic users that have multiple marks to some that just have one, and in the case of MASH, has none. So if you'll pardon my ramblings and whatnot, I think I might have struck something this time with the concept that magical inverse, as I mentioned before, is basically the concept of these individuals that have been exiled and whatnot. They've bred, they've intermingled and whatnot, and that like weird gene that they have that causes low to no magic is actually mutating alongside the dormant magic giving genes, while the inverse gene, as I'm going to call it, where normally magic, when you do a spell, it projects it outward from the human body, right? That's how magic works. You see it in motion, sometimes more visibly than others. But magic inverse is the total opposite. This is where magic cannot escape the body, and when they try to use magic, it's actually steadily just being absorbed into their bodies. This could very well explain MASH's very heightened ability to build strength and physical power. Because he cranks out like those massive workouts of like hundreds if not thousands of pounds. It's like he's just a machine with that thing. And it's like, how can he do that? He's presumably just a regular human, right? Well, as of chapter 20, we've seen, and said character has actually acknowledged that he is much like MASH. There was a masked figure in chapter 20 that he's like, is this guy like me kind of deal? And I was like, that really intrigued me, because then that just furthered my thought process to where it is now, where they're, this subgroup, we'll call them like the inverse, the magical inverse group for simplicity, or the magical inverse superhumans. Basically, they have evolved outside of the magical gene pool, as it were. The society that flourishes from the use of magic. And they have been evolving alongside, the magic race without them even knowing it. And presumably that might actually explain like how MASH came into the the care of Regro, his adoptive father, because Regro is a low-level magic user that was thought to be a failure, and he was going to commit suicide by jumping off a building. But then the moment right before he was going to jump, someone mysteriously just dropped off a baby right there. We never saw them, and it was so quick that if there was anybody there, we couldn't see them. I'm theorizing that Mash's parents were very much like Mash is right now, where, like, say, the broom riding challenge that he did, like who could fly faster, and he just threw the broom and then ran the distance and then, hopped on the broom, and some people couldn't see him at all. What if that was the same thing as his parents? Like, they came in to, like, maybe buy supplies or something, and then, the cops got wise to them, and they had to, leave their sweet little baby behind, and they were like, well, he'll be all right with this magic user. They can maybe sympathize with low-level users because, they're similar in that regard, just not quite the same. They can sympathize because of the treatment, because they're the same in that regard. They're exiled, and if not, straight up killed in some regards. Well, okay, now that more or less covers the whole thing. Also, this might explain why Mash was able to basically just bat away Brad's null compass attack that was said to be strong enough to repel a dragon. He just bats that thing away like it was a ball, and then he does it more so with, like, the multi null compass attacks that Brad uses in the first chapter. So I'm thinking, like, because of the inverse gene, like, they absorb their own magic, but maybe they repel external magics. Like, we haven't really seen too many magics that would infiltrate the human body just yet in the series. So that fact may be a little shaky at the moment. Like, Mash can physically interact with magic, like Lance's gravity magic. He's been affected by that, but he can, resist it so well, partially because of his superhuman strength. But what if it's like this secondary, like, repelling of other external magics as well? But, so that's its own idea right there. Now, getting into what all this might mean for that like secondary theory I mentioned, where is this going for the future of the series? If this turns out to be true. Okay, we, as of right now, have two magical inverse individuals that are in the Easton Academy. Both striving, presumably, for the masked user anyway. We know Mash is going for the Divine Visionary position. Presumably, anybody that actually joins the Academy is going for that, but this magic user probably is, he's probably going for it as well. And if he's the same as Mash, it would make more sense that if there is a whole, like, subspecies of, like, magic empowered people, that this is actually leading to where they're, like, sending in, like, their most advanced trained people to, like, simulate and imitate magic with their superhuman abilities, to then be accepted into the school and then hopefully become, renowned enough to then become a divine visionary and change society so that their people are no longer exiled or killed or, anything in the like. And then they can come out of hiding and not be persecuted anymore. So that's kind of where my mind is at right now for the series, because like I said, there's at least two individuals, but then presumably Mash's parents, at least one of them is the same. So that's upwards to 3 that we've seen in the series. Well, not seen, but you know what I mean. We're kind of aware of at least one other individual that dropped Mash off that might have similar capabilities. So, yeah. Anyway, let me know what you thought of this theory. Anything that sounded good to you, or am I just completely crazy and just pulling things out of thin air? I don't know, but it's a process that I've been developing, like I said, over the last 2 weeks, and I just wanted to do a video on it after Chapter 20's revelation. So, yeah, let me know your thoughts and opinions. Anything you like about it, let me know. And yeah, check out my other content, see what you like, suggest things for the future. Links down below for all my social media so that you can always stay in the loop for all of my content and find ways to contact me. I stream on Twitch where I do gaming, and I'll tweet it out when I go live. Part of the One Punch Man podcast on Grim Reaper's channel, so go check that out. And as always, thank you for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, Quiche-lings. Magical inverse? Am I crazy? I don't know. Bye-bye.